Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and welcome to Stories 3. Today we're covering 4 specific monsters that you're going to want to be able to get as soon as possible if you want a very strong start, or maybe just are interested in these monsters and their mutations. We're of course talking about Astalos here and its mutated form in Stories 3, the Boltreaver, and of course Legiacrus and its mutated form, Ivory Legiacrus. You can quite literally get these in the first chapter of the game, and it requires you to deal with 2 invasive monsters, which technically only requires you to retreat them. This means with the invasive system, you need to beat their special mechanic, not the monster itself, which does mean you can do it in the opening hours of the game, even when heavily underleveled for the context. In Act 1 in Azuria, you will find these 2 invasives that you need to take down largely in the same area. For Legiacrus, you're going to need to deal with the invasive Plesioth, which is found in this secret cave. To reach the cave, you'll need some sort of swimming monster so you can actually pass through into the cave successfully. For that, I just used a Plesioth, which you can capture almost immediately as you explore like the first region. But other swimming options do exist in this zone, you just pick any and get in there. You must enter at night though, like any invasive, that's when they spawn. Then for Astalos, you're going to need to defeat an Invasive Seregios, which is actually at the top left. So yes, very much similar location. Again, you need to come here at night, and you'll need a flying monster, which I mean, you'll start with one, to reach this location. At the southern eastern point, there's a sort of wind draft, which when you fly into, gives you this boost up over the water, which allows you just enough distance to actually reach this higher up location, where you go to the top and find that Invasive Seregios. Next, let's talk about the invasive solutions. So if you want to work this out yourself, I would recommend you skip to the next step in this video. It'll be timestamped obviously, so that you don't have this spoiled for yourself. But with that warning out the way, what is the Plesioth invasive solution? You need to break its head with the fire element. This could be fire element weapon attacks, this could be fire element monster attacks, it doesn't matter. Thankfully, you start the game with Ratha, so this is an obvious straightforward choice. I also recommend you craft a fire weapon of some kind to be your main option. But I literally did it with a fire greatsword, so it doesn't really matter, just pump fire element into the head. Once you break the head then, that will cause the retreat, and this leads to the endangered den of Legiacrus. Grab the egg and get out, and that's the starting point for that one. On the other hand then, we have the Invasive Seregios. This one is more complicated. You're going to need a specific hammer attack, which then allows you to reflect its special scale attack back at it. The moment you do that the first time, you win. The problem is you need to essentially survive like 2, maybe 3 moves in a worst case scenario before it actually happens. When it's about to do the attack, you perform this special hammer attack and then it triggers. That attack is this, Perfect Crush. Now as a guaranteed way to get this specific hammer, you'll need Somnicanth parts to craft it. Somnicanth is first available at the very beginning of chapter 2. But it's obviously not the only hammer that is a source of that. For example, the Vortex hammer has the sort of default Perfect Crush. So this comes from Legiacrus, so you could first deal with Plesioth, get Legiacrus in your world, defeat Legiacrus, get some parts, could be an alternative. But obviously other hammers are going to exist in the game, and you could even look for say decorations and just sort of slot that in once you eventually have that access. Anyway, again, you use that hammer move at the moment that Seregios is about to shoot out its scales at you. This triggers the instant retreat, you don't even have to break apart, so it's arguably easier than the Plesioth in that way. Now a quick look at, say, the usefulness and relevance of the genes, starting with Legiacrus, which has some interesting options. It is a strength-based monster, and obviously Thunder at its base, you can change that if you want. I've gone out of my way to get it to S tier in terms of, the monster restoration. So in this case, we can look at Wild Fang, which is a really strong non-element move, because it has a high chance of being a critical hit. It is a strength attack, but it's one that I would actually think would be great to pull from a Legiacrus and put onto a particularly good non-element monster, if that's sort of what you're looking for. Otherwise, we're going to see some standard Thunder options, specific Thunder damage, and paralysis chance is great, or say an AoE version. There's also Thunder attack boost small in this case, to boost your Thunder attack, so very good genes for Thunder monsters of any kind really. Finally, we have the level 51, which is Thunder Aura, giving you attack up, and then the attacks become capable of inflicting paralysis, which is definitely very good as an aura. A different one you can get is Elemental Breaker though, increasing your damage when targeting a monster's elemental weakness, which is obviously really relevant. You want to be doing as much as possible. As it is a thunder monster as well, you can get, reduced damage from thunder attacks. So as a Thunder Strength monster, I think it's pretty solid. By comparison then, here's a quick look at Astalos, which is also hilariously Thunder based. But this one is technical Thunder, as the key difference here. Thunder Smash, dealing Thunder damage in AoE, and importantly inflicts Thunder defense down, making follow-up Thunder attacks even stronger. This is pretty phenomenal to open a fight with. There's also Vengeful Thunder at level 20. One target, Thunder damage, but more damage the lower the user's health is. So you could set up some extreme burst with this one. And by comparison, it is a speed attack, which is a nice bit of utility. As the Thunder type, then you've got the option of anti-paralysis, which is obviously very good, and it comes with Plasma Cannon as its move. So of course, that's its technical attack. Thunder damage to one enemy, chance to inflict paralysis, pretty standard, pretty solid stuff. But what do I want to do if I want to unlock the mutated form, the Ivory Legiacrus, the Boltreaver Astalos? So first up for Ivory Legiacrus, this is the easier one. All you need to do for Ivory is to get a normal Legiacrus to A rank for a habitat sort of restoration ray. To do that then, now we've saved Legiacrus post-invasive, is to go into random dens at night. Nighttime is important because it makes it more likely that you get the double nest event. And the double nest event's super good because you have near infinite rerolls on the nest until you eventually do get the Legiacrus or Astalos that you're looking for. Not to mention you can get 2 eggs instead of 1, and both ones allow for that infinite fishing, so it's just perfect. Ideally, you combo that by fishing in gold rare dens or the platinum or diamond super rare dens just to improve the odds. The alternative method is to find the monster in the field now that you've put it in the habitat restore. It exists in that region, that subzone. So you can find it, put it low health, use a paintball, and cause it to retreat, then follow it to its nest. You're more likely to cause the retreat by applying the paintball, and also by doing well in the fight by getting an A or S grade specifically. By following a monster to its nest, it's always going to be a double nest, and the eggs there are specifically the monster you retreated, so super easy to sort of focus for a gold or platinum shine if that's what you're doing. But to be honest, the easy method I did is just going into dens at night, finding Legiacrus eggs or Astalos eggs, and then releasing them into the zone. Once we get Legiacrus to A rank, the mutation effect occurs and the Ivory begins to spawn. On the other hand, you have the Boltreaver version of the Astalos, which is a bit more demanding. It wants you to have Astalos in that subzone at an S rank, but then it also wants the area to be a Thunder zone specifically, and at least 3 monsters in that zone need to already be Thunder. So that's why I recommend you do this in the Broadleaf Basin in the first zone, because it's a Thunder zone. You're going to have Tobi-Kadachi in that zone already, and I would recommend you do Legiacrus first and build Legiacrus in this zone, as you can see I've done. That way we've got Tobi-Kadachi, we've got the based Astalos, and we've got at least one form of Legiacrus in this zone, giving us those 3 Thunder types to then trigger the mutation for the Boltreaver. Anyway, use one of those methods, retreat an Astalos and follow it to the den, or just go into random dens at night and pull those Astalos eggs. Once you get Astalos to grade S, that will trigger the mutation for the Boltreaver to spawn. Then you repeat the process to get Boltreaver to S as well, so it's in a strong position for you to actually use. Now, fun fact, once you have these monsters to S grade like I do here, it's super easy to pull a super rare egg. You can just go into any den, and because you've got S rank, it's very likely to be rare or very rare. So in my first den when getting an S grade, I pulled a very rare platinum on my 3rd egg check. But if you want to maximize this, if you are strong enough to actually retreat the target, Boltreaver and Ivory Legiacrus, they should be level 50 or 60. That's going to be very unlikely. But if you are strong enough and have it retreat to a nest, well then you're going to get tons of rolls of specifically that monster at an S grade, with loads of them being very rare, which would then let you farm their genes really effectively. But obviously, you'd need to be strong enough to do that. It'll be a later game thing. For those of you wondering, this is what they look like in their different elements. So the Ivory Legiacrus is this white and blue by default. Then we have the ice version, we have the dragon version, the normal version, which is quite interesting. And you've got the fire version, and finally the water version as the different variants. By comparison, this is the normal Boltreaver, this is the ice version, we've got the dragon version, there's the normal version, there's the fire version, and the water version. Those are the different aesthetic looks if you are interested. And here's a quick look at the monsters as a little mini review. Firstly, we have the Ivory Legiacrus, which instead of strength is speed, which is a relevant important change to think about. For genes, we've got things like Plasma Blast, Thunder damage to all enemies, chance to inflict paralysis. Then you have Plasma Pressure at level 40, which is a speed move. Deals thunder damage to one enemy, high chance of a critical hit. I think that's pretty fantastic. As the thunder type, we got anti-paralysis. There's also Synchronize at a medium level potential, which increases your double attack damage. That's pretty solid. For the egg skill, we have Crash Wave, for water specifically. And that S tier skill is Royal Decree. Inflicts attack down on all enemies, which I think is absolutely phenomenal, especially in tougher fights. Another skill that I was able to find was Dragon Buster, slightly increasing your Wyvern Fell power, so we can scale this all the way up to large, obviously. This could be great for controlling monsters. On the other hand, then, we have the Boltreaver Astalos, which, unlike, say, the Ivory Legiacrus, sticks to the base attack type, which is technical. So technical and thunder is its base version. We can also get Dragon Buster here, as we just looked at. But it starts with Ray Blade, dealing thunder damage to one enemy with that chance to inflict paralysis. Pretty solid to have this as the S skill. As the egg skill, we have Adamant Rage. Greatly increases damage dealt by the user on the next turn, so you set up for like a huge burst on a weak point, maybe during a knockdown or something like that. Well timed, well aimed. This is extremely good. His level 60 skill is Blue Plasma. Also a technical skill. It's an AoE thunder to all enemies with that chance to inflict paralysis, so very strong thunder AoE. And we have Azure Voltage at level 50 for thunder attack up, but lowers your defense, as well as greatly increasing damage dealt by the user on the next turn. So you can see some serious potential in this monster specifically for the idea of setting up for the right attack combined with Adamant Rage and devastating during one attack. This is probably the highest potential option of the lot we looked at. Combine that with something like Elemental Breaker, more damage dealt to monster parts when exploiting a monster's elemental weakness could be very relevant. So yeah, I rate Boltreaver Astalos the highest out of all of them. Last up for the video then, a quick look at the 4 Kinship Animations, just if you want to see them and, you know, form your own opinion on them.
I got it! This better work! I got it! I got it! See that? This better work! I got it!
But yeah, there you have it. That's my guide to these 4. Legiacrus, the Ivory version, Astalos, and the Boltreaver version, all in Chapter 1 and how. If this was useful, drop a like, and good luck in your own stories' adventures. Until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.